Okay, hello, my name is Erin Anroman, and this is my year in Humanities. So, first, just a little bit about me. I'm a first year Humanities student. I'm in ninth grade. I'm a varsity soccer player, and I've been a club soccer player for about 8 years of my life. And I also hope to pursue soccer someday in college. So, it's a really big part of my life. My whole life kind of revolves around it. I train a lot, many hours a day for it. Um, So this year I really went to Mr. Daly kind of asking for guidance on like what I could possibly do for a project. And he knew soccer is like a major thing I care about and a major thing in my life that takes up a lot of time. So he asked me the question, what happens after you play your last game? And I was really like, wait, like what do you mean like last game? And then I started to think about it later that day and I kind of realized like really what does happen because, that's my whole life. That's what it revolves around. That's my decision making. That's what my plans are. That's what my life really revolves around. Um, so I decided to just start doing some research on either like hobbies I'd be interested in, and also just like if former athletes suffer from something or go through a phase of not knowing what to do because their sport was their whole life. And when researching, I found out that 45% of former athletes suffer from depression and go through an identity crisis. And they go through this identity crisis because, like I said, their whole sport is their life. So when they no longer have their sport, they're lost and don't know what to do. Um, they also feel like they have no purpose. And this is mostly because their sport gave them their purpose. So when they no longer have their sport, they feel like their purpose is gone and that they don't have a life's purpose anymore. Um, so I was actually able to get some interviews to further my understanding of these athletes and this struggle these athletes go through or former athletes go through. And when interviewing, something interesting is that they all said something similar is that they wish someone in high school would have pushed them to find hobbies and stuff they enjoyed outside of their sport. Um, and this is really interesting because they all said that they felt if they had stuff outside of their sport that they knew they would enjoy, that it could have avoided that whole like depression and kind of point in their life where they're completely lost. And I know one of the athletes I spoke to, she's a former D1 softball player. She said that pretty much her competitiveness from the sport translated into her work life. But the issue with the work life is that it didn't have the same community the sports has. Because when you're on a sport team, you quickly become really close with the people you're playing with just because how much time you spend with them, but also you're all working towards really the same goals and in the same position. Um, but at work life, it didn't really have that because, after work, people would just go home to their families. And it wasn't all the same. So they were missing that aspect. And, this part in their heart or their pretty much their body was taken away and they didn't know, nothing could fill it, which they thought work would eventually. And this athlete ended up actually quitting her job and all and going to travel for a year, trying to just find stuff she likes. Um, but this is where I came up with my first idea for the project, is that I was just going to create a video about Beyond the Game and post it online just because I thought I could help high school athletes or even college athletes just try and find stuff they would like outside of the sport and try and encourage them to separate two lives so they have like friends outside of sports but also hobbies they enjoyed outside of the sports they would continue after even if they're not playing the sport anymore. But the issue with this, and after a week, I kind of realized that I didn't really want to raise awareness about it. This I kind of wanted to do something like hands on and know I'm helping people, because I don't like love the idea of like raising awareness about something because I feel like there actually is a lot of awareness on this. Um, but so pretty much after this, I knew I didn't want to do this, but I had no clue where I wanted to go with my project. Because normally in school, when you start a project or when you start something, you kind of know your end goal and like where you're going to go. But in this class, you have no clue what your end goal is going to be. Um, so I kind of got like stuck and like I lost all my motivation for the project just because I didn't really know how to go on, especially because like Mr. Daly can try and help you solve issues, but it's really like your project that you're doing, and he can't tell you exactly what to do. So this is how I definitely know I've learned persistence this year, is because even though I ran into this wall and this stoppage point in my project, I was actually able to eventually overcome it. And I also know this has translated in my actual life outside of school and outside of this project, because recently I've been looking to switch soccer programs just because it hasn't been a great environment for me lately. And I think a year ago, this would have kind of stopped me and I could have potentially quit the sport, just because I was I feel like a year ago I was a different person, and I didn't like when it came to something, I couldn't always get over the difficulties without everyone else or without other people kind of telling me what to do. But this year I was actually able to overcome this difficulty, and I, found another club that is a better environment for me, and the team's a good environment for me too. But back into my project, this is my second idea, was to find some current level high school athletes within the school and work with them in finding hobbies and things they enjoyed beyond their sport. So I actually did execute this, and I reached out to a lot of high school athletes that I knew. Not all of them responded, but some of them did. And I also reached out to some people on my old soccer team. And I actually worked with all of them to find things they enjoyed outside of their sport. And I also presented them and told them the importance of making sure that they had a life beyond their sport. So this year I definitely had to be more adaptable, and I learned to be more adaptable within this project, because pretty much you kind of have to adapt to other people's lives and other people's feelings, just because, and that's where empathy comes in a little bit, just because not every athlete wants to talk about how their sport's eventually going to be over, and not everyone handles it the same way. So you kind of have to be adaptable with people's feelings and opinions on the topic. And also, I knew this translated in my life just because I feel like 6 months ago, if, I would normally kind of get frustrated by change and kind of just be it kind of bring me down. But now I've kind of realized, just even the little things that change, I'm like, okay, it's fine. Let's go. Change happens. It's a part of life. I've kind of learned how to be more open mindful and adaptable to change. And I've also gained a lot of courage this year. So pretty much stepping out of my comfort zone is not normally something I would do. And you can really ask anyone in my life that I do not like to step out of my comfort zone. I like to stay in it. But with this project, if I would have stayed in my comfort zone, I don't think I would have been successful in it and would have been able to do what I did. And, it took a lot of courage for me to reach out to those former athletes, because you have to keep in mind they're what's it called? They're adults. And also, it took a lot of courage to just reach out to high school athletes, just because you don't know what they'll think, judgmental, and think it's stupid or something. But I have also known in my life that it's just helped me a lot. And this project helped me a lot in my life, just because courage, like I said, I've just dealt with stepping out of my comfort zone, but now I've kind of realized that I just kind of do things without even realizing I do it. And that's just because I step out of my comfort zone and do stuff I normally wouldn't do. Just talk to strangers or something. But people sometimes you see people and they need help or something. And I normally help them 6 months ago, but I wouldn't really say anything. But sometimes I talk to them a little bit now and stuff like that. So I definitely know I've gained a lot of courage this year throughout this project. So thanks for listening.